Hi there, I'm Sabrina, and welcome to Sensible Practice, where you'll benefit from my 25 plus years of leadership experience in corporate America. Today, I'll be sharing with you how to determine if your company is ready for change. I'll walk you through a change size and readiness analysis and share an example of a completed analysis from one of the projects that I've previously done. And you'll benefit from some of the challenges and the lessons learned from my experience, okay? So let's get to it. So a change size analysis allows you to get an idea on how large of a change you're going to be dealing with and how difficult it's going to be to gain adoption for that change. So a small project with minimal change does not need really the level of change management coordination as if it were a large change initiative that maybe would be for enterprise transformation, for instance. Doing this analysis up front is crucial for identifying, the size of the gap and financial investment. It's also crucial to understand which individuals are going to be impacted. So how many employees are impacted? What are their job roles? What are the different work areas? It's also going to help you understand locations. So, the geography of the different areas that are impacted and the number of locations that you might need to coordinate. As well as technology impacts. So, are there different screens on some of the systems that are regularly used that will be impacted? Then you have work processes that need to be looked at to understand, how those are going to be changing for people. And then also you want to think about the customer and how is this going to impact your customer in the long run. So here's a copy of a change size analysis that I completed for a software upgrade project. The questions in the first column are answered based on the current state of the area that is impacted, and then they're scored over here to the right by the size of the impact to that area. So whether it's going to be minimal, moderate, or a significant impact, that's what you're wanting to rate each of these questions by. Also on this page, you'll see that each category section, those that are grayed out, those are added up for the total section. And then at the end, the total score is carried over to the risk assessment chart at the end of the analysis. The largest impact that you'll see on this page that I experienced with this project was the fact that our vendor relationships would be terminated at the end of the project. So we had to continue with training and development and other requests for 1.0 when we were actually working on the replacement, which was 2.0. Which this in itself, was a lot of extra work. It caused massive confusion and frustration across the entire project team. So once you know the level of change complexity from the change size analysis, you'll do the business readiness analysis to determine whether your organization can actually deliver on the change. So, a few of the things that you're going to be looking at is whether there is a compelling business case, and whether that is visible to, everyone in that's impacted from the organization. You also want to understand if the leaders are committed to this change project, or has there been previous change initiatives that's really just left them with a bad taste in their mouth. Another thing you're going to want to think about is the stakeholder perception of change competence. So, is that going to be negative or positive? And again, this could be from history, things that have been implemented in the past that didn't go so well, or maybe they are just all excited and motivated about, moving things forward. Also, this is going to tell you how employees will react based on history and based on their capacity, whether they have a heavy workload right now, all of that good stuff. And then another thing, it's sort of like, this arm wrestling is other competing projects where you are trying to get the same resources that other people are already using for other projects to work on your change project. And that's where you're going to have some struggles in determining how to balance time, which one is more important, that sort of thing. So all of these play a role in documenting your risk assessment and determining your level of change management needs. So sticking with the same software project, this is the first column here is the questions that you would ask the impacted leaders who, lead the areas where either their process or their people or their technology might be impacted by the change that you're implementing. The readiness score that you see here, it's in both the second and third columns there. And it's a score that is a numerical representation, but it also has a label there that makes it a little easier to identify where you are as an organization just at a glance. And so as you can see, there's lots of red down that column when you look at this project. With this project, they were not ready for any of these specific areas that are broken up. And it took a significant change management coordinated effort to right size this situation. That last column there is extremely important as well, because this is where you can jot down some details that will help you in the long run when you're making recommendations with the implementation. I always look back at these notes just to see what all is in there. You can get some really good nuggets from the notes that you're taking along the way as you're doing your due diligence. The total rating for this readiness assessment, for this project was pretty high at a 33. And this is what we would place on the risk assessment chart. Fire alarm, fire alarm. I really wanted to sound the alarm after doing these assessments for this project. So holy moly, seriously. There was absolutely no trust across the board with this project. The sponsors didn't trust the development teams to deliver. There were multiple sponsors who didn't trust each other, and they were fighting along the way, doing that tug of war type of thing on most any decision that needed to be made. Also, no commitment from stakeholders to accept the development when it was completed. There really was no executive support because there was unclear who the actual sponsor was and who was going to, be that cheerleader for us. And overall, it just came down to a significant amount of company politics. This project was ate up with company politics and that competitive nature of many leaders trying to, get the next step up or that leg up of, one-upping each other or getting in front of the executive leadership because they were either vying for a new position or I'm not really sure what, but it was just really caused a lot of confusion across different employee groups and frustration with the project teams. There was extra money spent on time and effort that was really just shot down due to conflicting opinions. So, according to the risk assessment chart that you'll see here on your right, this project was actually rated at a medium risk. And here's why. The risk assessment is taking into consideration both analysis. You've got the change size analysis and the readiness assessment. So they want it needs to paint a bigger picture for the organization to be able to make decisions against this chart. So it's to help them determine how much change management coordination they're going to need in order to have the project be successful. And so since we had a 19 on the change size analysis, that falls into the small and minimal change side of the chart. But the readiness score was 33, which falls in the area of change resistance at the top part of the chart. And so you can see, just because you have a smaller initiative doesn't mean that it's always going to be an easy one. So the next step is to make recommendations based on your findings from the analysis as well as your findings from the interviews that you held with your key stakeholders. You're going to want to address any issues with your sponsors and let them know what you recommend in order to turn the project around to get it on the right track. So taking into consideration that the risk was rated at a medium, I went to work on my action plan, pulling directly from my observations during the interviews and the side-by-sides, and also from the assessments. Remember when I mentioned a few slides back that the comments are very helpful? Well, this is where you really start to dig into those comments that you captured. As I went through my interviews and conversations with the key stakeholders, I noted the issues that I needed to keep track of. And that helped me in determining the mitigation plan and also to provide some of these recommendations back to the business in order for them to be able to prepare for the change. This was one of the big observations that I had through my analysis that I had done. Was that the organization was spending a lot of time and money to continue training employees on 1.0 when the 2.0 would be ready to roll out within the next couple of months. So there needed to be a decision made to reevaluate the need and the priority to educate on the legacy system. I broke down each area, how many employees were still needing to be trained, how much money it would be to continue the training for these areas. And, the leaders tend to understand the detail better whenever you make it more about money and their bottom line. So that's really why I did it this way, so that they could see that they're spending a lot of effort and money to continue this old path while they're trying to build out this new path. And it would have made a lot more sense to really focus all of their efforts on the 2.0 so that they could push it, be more productive with it. So having this show the time and money makes it easier for them to be able to make a decision. Another key takeaway from my analysis was the need for stakeholder communication. My change efforts did not start at the front of the project, as it should have. As you'll experience for yourself, a lot of times the change leaders are brought in when projects are going off track, and they need the support to ensure that people get on board with the change. So I recommended that a clear message needed to be built out around the 2.0 efforts, and they needed to share why we were doing it this way and how it would impact the different teams. So this list went to the sponsors for them to take action on my recommendations. All right, that's a wrap, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. And please, if you don't mind, give me a like, share, and subscribe for more content as I add it out here every week. Thank you again, and I truly appreciate your support.